We've got a great show lined up for you here on Retiring Well. We're going to be talking about getting your financial house in order. What is your financial house and what does that look like for you? What about qualifications to look for in an advisor? What is important and what really applies to their overall qualifications? Tax planners versus tax preparers, very different, and how that could be really important to when you're looking at your taxes. And IRAs versus Roth IRAs, how valuable that is to know the difference and what advantages they may play for you in your retirement. So stay tuned to Retiring Well.
Retiring Well, brought to you by Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning and serving all of Northern Michigan. Retiring Well, helping you plan for a successful and comfortable retirement. Retiring Well, plan to retire well.
I want to talk about getting your financial house in order, building that house. And I've often thought, as I've heard this terminology over the years, why do they can talk about a house with finances? But if you stop and think about it, it really does make a lot of sense. You have that foundation, then the walls go up, and then you have the roof, and then even there's pieces inside that get moved around and change. It's a pretty good analogy. So let's talk through the financial side of that for you. First, what are your assets? What pieces do you have? What are the various, whether it's accounts, investments, cash on hand, hard assets, cars, all that sort of stuff. What are all the assets that you have? What are the liabilities you have against those things? What money do you owe? And then after that comes net worth, right? Assets minus liabilities. So what's your net worth? What? Hopefully that's a positive number, and hopefully that number is growing over time. What is your income? What kind of cash flows do you have? If you're working, obviously you probably have a paycheck, or maybe you own a business. You have that cash flow coming in hopefully fairly regularly. As you transition to retirement, where's that cash flow going to come from? What sources do you have from that income? Maybe you have rentals, maybe you have royalties of something, maybe you have a business sale, all these sort of things. What is that going to come from, and how does that look like? Income is vitally important because that's your lifestyle in all of this. So another piece of that financial house. What debt do you have? I talked about liabilities earlier, but are you sitting on a mortgage? Do you have a car? Do you lease a car? Do you have other debts? Hopefully you don't have a bunch of credit card debt looming. But all those things, what is that payoff plan to that? Once again, with retirement planning, we don't love to have a bunch of debt hanging over our head because that's more money just going out and less money you get to spend on the fun things that you want to do in retirement. Taxes. A lot of times I don't see taxes involved with financial house discussions, and it concerns me. Sometimes it's the single biggest expense retirees have in retirement is taxes. What's your plan? What tax bracket are you in? And what is your plan long term for that in retirement? Making sure you're paying taxes when you should be or deferring them when maybe you should not be. Estate planning. Boy, making sure you have places to go for your assets after you're gone. What are beneficiaries? Who's your power of attorney? Are you reviewing these things? If you have a child that's a minor, who's taking care of that child when you're gone? Make sure you're staying track of all those things. Health and medical. What's your plan there? Making sure you have insurance. Maybe long-term care is a focus of that. Finally, review. Folks, things change over time. Just like your home, sometimes you need a fresh coat of paint or maybe some remodeling. Making sure you're staying on track of your financial house can help you ensure you'll have a successful retirement in the future.
What an awesome segment there on getting your financial house in order. And I know with my own house and the 4 little ones at home, we've got soccer practice, dance class, hockey going to be starting up soon. And it's a struggle to make sure that we're all going to the right spot at the right time. And that's similar to your financial portfolio, right? You need to make sure that the tax planning, estate planning, income planning, and then investment side is all taken care of as well. Isn't that right, Jack?
Absolutely. What I think is there is peace in a plan. Creating that plan creates peace. I ran across a quote from Stephen Covey. He said, "Too many of us spend too much time on what is urgent and not enough time on what is important." And that's why I love this job. I get to help you help yourself get that financial house in order. Deal with those urgent items in your overall plan that you don't really want to procrastinate anymore. And once you get that all in order, now that peace can come over, and now you can start spending the time that you want on the important things, the things that you care about. So if you have any kind of questions, there is no obligation, there's no fee for you to just come in and sit down with us and let us help you go through what a potential plan might be, so that you can spend that important time on the things that you care about most.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the best things about this job, is hearing your story and hearing how much you've worked your entire life and then putting that plan in place so that you can enjoy retirement and do those things, whether it's travel or just get out on the golf course every day. It's so fun to make those dreams a reality. So please stay tuned. Coming up next, we're going to talk about what should you look for in an advisor, and then also what's the difference between a tax planner and a tax preparer. So stay tuned, you don't want to miss it.
NMC Extended Education is introducing an educational class titled Retirement Secrets, Your Best is Yet to Come, presented by Centennial Wealth Advisory. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, then this class is for you. Many things can threaten your ability to outlive your assets and retire well. The big three being healthcare, inflation, and taxes. Learn to navigate the critical issues that a retiree must deal with. You'll learn how to plan for a predictable and sustainable income, minimize taxes on your IRAs, maximize your Social Security benefits, and avoid estate planning mistakes. We'll also discuss long-term care concerns and what investments are appropriate in different situations. The cost is only $69. Materials will be provided, and a spouse or guest may attend for free. The class will be held on Wednesday, November 10th and November 17th from 6 to 9 p.m. at the NMC Great Lakes campus. Reserve your seats today by calling NMC at 231-995-1700.
You don't walk into a doctor's office for some blanket prescription for whatever ails you. You expect individualized attention, a doctor who listens, and a treatment prescribed to meet your specific need. When it comes to your financial future, why expect anything less? If you would like an independent checkup from an independent advisor with access to hundreds of possible solutions to help you meet your goals, contact us today.
Hi, my name is Jack Klunder, and I am a financial advisor with Centennial Wealth Advisory. I work out of our Cadillac office, and we specialize in retirement planning. We take a very holistic approach. We start with investments and see how you're situated there. We do wealth management. We do income planning. We do tax planning, any kind of healthcare issues or needs that you might have for insurance. And then we talk about what your legacy plan might be. So if you are nearing or in retirement and you have questions that you want to go over, please give the number on the screen a call, and we can have and set up a free, no obligation consultation.
Qualities to look for in an advisor. What are they? Well, the first one you want to have in that advisor is experience. Folks, this is very important. When I first got involved in financial services, it was in the late 90s, and I'd never experienced a down market before. All of a sudden comes along 9/11, 9/11, it's 2000. I watched the market drop to almost half its value in a 2.5-year period. That was very important for me to have to experience, because in all my training, they talk about market volatility, but I had no idea the markets could be that volatile. And so having the experience of having to have a walk through that was very, very important. 2008, the credit crash. Another time, it dropped to almost half its value. This time only in a 15-month period. Very important for me to have to live through that. Now, by that point, I was much more experienced because I'd already experienced a market downturn. So I, knew they could come along. I knew the risk people were taking, and I had them positioned appropriately. So having the right experience is very important. I remember as a young man, the only time I said experience didn't matter was when I didn't have any, right? So very important to have that. The next thing you want to look for in an advisor is, do they really have your best interests in mind? Now, this is a little harder to determine because, if they're trying to sell you something, they're obviously giving you all the positives of what they're trying to sell you. But how do you really know they have your best interests in mind? The best way I think you can tell is know the kind of questions they're asking you. Are they really, really concerned about what you need or want? And you can tell by the questions they ask. If you walk in and all they do is start talking about what they do and how they do it, and this is why we do it, but they never ask you anything about yourself and how you feel about things, what experience maybe you have, maybe some experience that you had where the market dropped to half its value, and you said, hey, I don't ever want to see that for me. So you can kind of tell by the way they kind of ask the questions and whether they're really listening. The other thing you want to maybe look for in an advisor is, are they independent or not? Are they just selling one company's products? If they're just selling one company's products, they're probably not going to be independent, meaning they're really trying to just push that one product. But if they're independent, maybe they can sell from a vast array of financial companies with a vast array of financial instruments. More likely, they're going to be more independent, aren't they? Because they're not just selling one company. The other thing you want to look for is communication. Are they regularly calling you, talking to you, or educating you on what's going on in the markets? Very important. Number one complaint we get with people coming in to our office is, they didn't call me, they don't talk to me. So very important that they communicate with you as well. Hopefully these are all good qualities you want to look for in an advisor. Give us a call if you're not getting that. We'll show you what we're doing, how we're doing it, most importantly what you want, so we can help.
The stock market has a natural life cycle that is destined to encounter peaks and valleys. Those scenarios are frequently preceded by events such as changes in interest rates, new international trade negotiations, treaties, and tariffs, fluctuating levels in the national debt, global events that threaten the economic stability, political controversies that impact national policies, dramatic news headlines that shape investor sentiment. While each of these issues, and certainly all of them combined, generate cause for concern, it's important to remember that we have been in similar circumstances before. One way to help gauge market-related anxiety is to consider observations made by renowned investment experts who have weathered many markets' ups and downs over the years. Contact us today for a complimentary portfolio risk assessment. We'd love the opportunity to help you plan to retire well.
Centennial Wealth Advisory is a proud sponsor of the Traverse City St. Francis Gladiators football team.
When you have confidence in your retirement future, you can live the life you've always imagined. Because of planning, you now have time to reflect on the wonderful memories of your life. You and your spouse finally have the luxury of leisure time together. To spend fun times with your grandkids, sharing the joy of their excitement about life. Smiling at the thought of quality time with your children and of picking up the check. At last, you have time to breathe and rekindle the love of your life. Why? Because you imagined what could be. You planned for retirement. So today, you own your future.
Hi, welcome back. Now listen, in this segment, I want to talk about tax planning. All right, now there's a big difference between a tax planner and a tax preparer. The best way for me to illustrate this is think about tax season. When do you have most of your income tax documents? Wouldn't you agree that whether you open up the mail that says important tax information or not, that mostly everybody's got that by at least the middle of February, right? And then I can tell you that most people like to have their taxes done by April 15th. So if they're getting most of their documents by middle of February and they want it done by April 15th, how much time is that for most preparers to get all the tax returns done? Literally only 2 months. Now think about that. How much tax planning do you think they're doing in that 2-month period? Now, I had my own tax and accounting practice for over 25 years, and I can tell you during that 2-month period, I was just trying to get taxes out the door. I used to pride myself on giving people, advice, maybe looking at some observations, maybe showing some things they could do to save money. But the kind of tax planning I'm talking about, running mock returns and strategizing and that kind of thing, wasn't happening in that period. So a lot of people think they've got a tax planner, but really all they got is a tax preparer. Now, what's involved in income tax planning? Now, for most people that we work with, soon to be retired folks, the kind of tax planning we're talking about is really tax bracket optimization. If somebody's got Social Security income, maybe they got pension income, maybe they got part-time employment, maybe they still got wages, and now they have to take money out of the IRA, that's right on top of all that other income. What bracket do they find themselves in? And if there's any room in that bracket, that is a great opportunity to do what's called Roth conversions. That the idea that we're going to pay the tax on the IRA and convert it over to a Roth IRA. Now, let's say I'm in that, 22% tax bracket. I'm always going to be there based on all my other income, and I know when I take money out of my IRA, it's going to fall in that bracket. What I'm conceding is that Uncle Sam now has got a 22% interest in my IRA. I have a partner in that account. So knowing that if I've got any room in that bracket, why would I not go ahead and accelerate money out of the IRAs, convert it into a Roth, pay the tax on it at the 22% rate, and convert it, because I'm basically going to pay that no matter what. If tax rates ever go up in the future, well, guess what? I've saved, I've got it out of there early, growing in a Roth, tax deferred. Now, IRA exit strategies is another thing. How do I get that partner out? Well, Roth conversion's one way. How about life insurance? If I know Uncle Sam's going to get 22 cents on the dollar, what if I had a life insurance policy there to pay it off Uncle Sam, when the first spouse died? So tax planning, there's a lot involved in it. Encourage you, if you're somebody that does not have a tax plan and you want one, then give us a call. We'd be glad to sit down and see if you're not a Roth conversion candidate.
What an interesting topic there that we just covered in that segment on what to look for in your advisor. And I think it's so crucial to make sure that you trust your advisor, but also are on the same page as well. Oftentimes you got your advisor that is kind of trying to sell you on a certain product, right? I'm one to not really like to be sold. I want to be taught on that process, why you're recommending the product and so forth. And here at Centennial Wealth, we're an independent financial advisory company, meaning that we just go out there and shop around for the best products out there that meet our clients' needs. We don't have any monthly quotas or certain products that we need to push on you. It's whatever's in your best interest. That's what we're going to go after. But also you want to make sure that your advisor is not just talking investments, right? There's a whole other piece to the puzzle in tax planning, estate planning, health insurance planning, income planning. But I know tax planning is a huge part of that puzzle as well, right, Jack?
Definitely. And so it's a quote that I heard, it reminds me of, it's not how much money you make, it's how much money you keep. And so here's a helpful idea for you. Tax planning should happen every November, December. What you want to do is look at your bracket, see if there's any opportunities. It's something that in certain tax plays, it can only happen calendar year. So if you go to try to make a tax play when you're using your tax preparer to file your taxes the next calendar year, you lost that opportunity. So it's really important that you just figure out what is your tax plan. And if you don't have a tax plan, then come in and talk to us. It's one of the services that we provide where we can help educate you. And once you understand what your opportunities are, you don't want to miss them. So stay tuned, because as we come up in this next section, we're going to be talking about the differences between IRAs and Roth IRAs.
Your grandchildren are precious to you. They are your life. This is your time to have that special relationship. Taking care of yourself is taking care of them. Centennial Wealth Advisory is offering a free, no-obligation retirement review to make sure you don't run out of money during your retirement. Centennial Wealth Advisory. Your best is yet to come.
NMC Extended Education is introducing an educational class titled Retirement Secrets, Your Best is Yet to Come, presented by Centennial Wealth Advisory. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, then this class is for you. Many things can threaten your ability to outlive your assets and retire well. The big three being healthcare, inflation, and taxes. Learn to navigate the critical issues that a retiree must deal with. You'll learn how to plan for a predictable and sustainable income, minimize taxes on your IRAs, maximize your Social Security benefits, and avoid estate planning mistakes. We'll also discuss long-term care concerns and what investments are appropriate in different situations. The cost is only $69. Materials will be provided, and a spouse or guest may attend for free. The class will be held on Wednesday, November 10th and November 17th from 6 to 9 p.m. at the NMC Great Lakes campus. Reserve your seats today by calling NMC at 231-995-1700.
Are you nearing retirement or in retirement? Have you had your portfolio just looked at or have a second opinion on that portfolio recently? Centennial Wealth is a full service advisory firm, and we have multiple locations in northern Michigan. I'm in the Gaylord office primarily. The office is right downtown Gaylord. Also up in the Petoskey office as well. That office is right off of 31. I'd love to hear your story. I'd love to sit down and chat, and it's a free, no obligation consultation, so just call the number on the screen.
Hi, welcome back. Listen, in this segment, I want to talk to you about IRAs and Roth IRAs and kind of some of the main differences between the two. When you put in or contribute to an IRA, you get a tax deduction, okay? That means you're not having to pay tax on that contribution. And you get what's called tax deferred growth, meaning it's that money in that IRA is growing tax deferred. You're not having to pay tax on that. But by the time you get to the distribution phase, now it's fully taxable, because you have to understand this is money that's never been taxed. And so now as you take out Uncle Sam's there, they want their share, okay? In a Roth IRA, it's a little bit different. You're putting in with after-tax dollars, meaning you're paying the tax on the money going up front. But like an IRA in the sense that you get tax-deferred growth, okay? It's going to grow and you're not going to have to pay tax on that part. But the beauty of a Roth IRA is once you get to the distribution phase and now have to take money out, it's not taxable. Okay? Now there's some qualifications that you have to reach in order to take the money out, but once you get to that retirement age and you're pulling out, it's going to be tax-free. Highly advantageous, right? Especially in tax planning. Now, the concept would be if I'm in my working years and maybe in a high income tax bracket, having that tax deduction is highly beneficial. So I might want to be more apt to put into an IRA. All right. The idea being that I save at this rate and then lo and behold, I might be in a lower bracket later on, maybe when I retire. So I save at this rate, pay at this rate. Highly advantageous. But if I'm a younger taxpayer, maybe I don't have that high income yet, I'm just kind of building up my career, I'm already in a low bracket, maybe a Roth IRA might be more advantageous because, you know, again, with a Roth IRA, I don't need to save at that high rate. So I'm in a low bracket, probably going to be in a low bracket by retirement. So I don't need that tax deduction. But what I do want, I've got all these years that I can have that money grow tax deferred so that when I pull it out at retirement, now it's tax free. Highly advantageous maybe for that person. Now, there's a lot of what you call 401ks out there. Okay, these are company plans that the employer puts into and the employee can put into, right? Now, a lot of these plans will have features where they have a pre-tax method and they have a Roth IRA option that you have available. It's important to understand that the employer portion that goes into those plans, the match as they call it, that has to go into a pre-tax plan, meaning it has to be where you don't have to pay tax on their contribution. So that's go pre-tax. But you have the choice of picking pre-tax or Roth IRA. So maybe for somebody like you, you might want the company put their part in, their match, but you put into a Roth IRA part, especially if you're in that low bracket. Now, folks, you know, understanding the difference between an IRA and Roth IRA is very important. I mean, a Roth IRA is really nice once you get to retirement, especially in tax planning. So if you're somebody that's got, you know, got some of these monies and maybe those different buckets and you want to see which one might be more advantageous to you, then I encourage you, give us a call and we'll help you through that.
Hey, I hope you found that detailed analysis of the differences between a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA helped you understand them a little bit, how you contribute to them, and then ultimately how they're going to act from a tax standpoint. I know you've heard this before. When people were talking specifically about investments to you, they said, "Are you diversified?" And so what I want to try to get you to think about is that's good. You don't want all of your eggs in one basket. But I also come across situations all of the time where I find all of their eggs are in one tax basket. They're not tax diversified. Just ran across a case where a client came in and they didn't have an accumulation problem. They had a tax problem. And we sat down and we started talking through all of the different opportunities that we can put into place right now to try to solve that tax problem. These are opportunities you have for the calendar year that you just don't want to miss. And so if you have any questions on your current tax accounts, how you're situated, if you need help in becoming tax diversified, please give us a call. I know Nick was going to talk about some of the long-term effects of letting these tax plans go unmitigated.
Yeah, I mean, that just brings to mind an IRA exit strategy, right? I mean, if you keep kicking the can down the road by contributing to that IRA through all those years and then never take the money out of it, right? You've got that looming tax bomb at age 72 when you're required to take that money out. And if you don't need that money at that point in time, well, then why would you want to take it out, right? So that brings us to planning to get out of those IRAs by using Roth conversions. And like Jack was saying, that's something that we can revisit on a year-to-year basis, see where your income falls, maximize that tax bracket, and take care of that looming tax bomb when you're age 72 and plus, right? So thank you so much for joining us today. Stay tuned next week, same time, same station. You can hear us again.